Didn't care who he knew. Didn't even flinch when she found out who he was. And for the first time in his life, this self-made black millionaire who built his empire from concrete and steel felt unworthy because she didn't want a penthouse. She wanted presence. And that was the one thing he didn't know how to give. But love isn't about worth. It's about he owned everything but had never been looked at like he was nothing special. Malik Devontae Carter. Black billionaire, 35 years old, founder of Carter Dynamics, a construction empire that built half the skyline. He didn't grow up rich, he built rich, with blood grind and zero apologies. And the world knew it. His face was on Forbes. His suits were custom. His time was money, $42,000 a minute to be exact. So when his assistant booked him into a quiet village for a forced weekend reset after a stress-induced fainting spell, he rolled his eyes. I build towers. Why would I want to sit under trees? But fine, 3 days, no Wi-Fi, no meetings, just overpriced herbal tea and people who didn't know who he was, or so he thought. The bookstore, day one. It was raining. He ducked into a small warm shop tucked between a tea house and a tailor's. The bell jingled. A woman glanced up from behind the counter. Didn't smile. Didn't stand. Didn't recognize him. Feel free to browse, she said, turning back to her tea. He blinked. No Mr. Carter. No stammering. No phone secretly taking pictures. She just went back to sipping oolong and highlighting lines in a dog-eared paperback. Her name was Emmy. She wore linen pants, a faded sweater with a tear at the cuff, hair in a lazy knot, no makeup, no perfume. But when she moved, it felt like poetry. Malik picked up a book, flipped it, watched her more than he read. After a while, he cleared his throat. You don't get many billionaires in here. She looked up once. If I do, they usually read quietly. He laughed, unsure if he was insulted or intrigued. Flashback Malik, at 19. He remembered the first time someone noticed his watch before his face. He liked it then. He expected it now. So why did it unsettle him that this woman didn't even ask what he drove? Back in the shop, he bought a book he wouldn't read. She rang it up without eye contact. You forgot your change, she said softly as he turned to leave. Keep it. Why? Because I can. She stared at him. That's not generosity. That's noise. He left flustered, not because she challenged him, but because she was the first woman in years who made him feel small, and somehow he didn't hate it. She didn't smile, flirt, or praise him, and that's why he came back. The next morning, Malik returned to the bookstore. No rain this time, no excuse, just a lie to himself. I'm here for another book. She was restocking shelves, balanced on a small wooden stool. Hair messier today. Still no makeup. Still not impressed. Back again, she asked without looking up. Maybe I like the silence. Then don't ruin it, she replied, reaching for another book. The conversation. He tried small talk. She answered with truths. What do you do? She asked casually. Construction. Real estate. Ah, so you build things that block the sky. He blinked. I build homes. No, you build profit. I build homes. That stung, and yet he couldn't stop staring. You don't ask many questions, he said, because I don't need your answers to know who you are. That one landed hard. Flashback Malik, age 28. He remembered dating a model who called him the future because he looked like success. Because he bought her silence with purses and weekends in Milan. But Emmy, she wasn't buying, wasn't selling. She was just being. And that's what shook him. Lunchtime. He brought her takeout. Didn't ask if she was hungry. She hesitated, then accepted the dumplings. Not as a gesture, just food. They ate on the floor among piles of books. Why are you really here? She asked. Rest, I guess. You don't look tired. You look hollow. He stared at her. You don't look like someone who runs a shop. That's because I don't run anything. I let things be. She handed him a book. No title on the cover. No author listed. Read this. Come back tomorrow. What is it? A mirror, she said. He walked out of that shop not knowing if he was falling for her or unraveling because of her. Either way, he was coming back. She handed him a book called A Mirror, and he saw the man he'd been hiding from Malik sat in the rented cottage that night. Fireplace on, phone off, suit jacket draped over a wooden chair. He opened the book Emmy gave him. No back cover, no flashy blurb, just handwritten pages, some crumpled, some crossed out, some painfully honest. It wasn't a novel, it was a journal, hers. Day 148. Still pretending I'm okay with being alone. Still wondering if being untouched means being unloved. Day 203. A rich man came in today. You can always tell. Not by the money, by the loneliness. His fingers froze. That was the day he'd walked in. Flashback Malik, at age 32. He remembered a party on a yacht. Women laughing at his jokes, phones snapping selfies beside him. And yet, he hadn't had a real conversation in years. No one had asked him who he was without the bank account. Back to present, the book's final page. I think wealth is loud because it's scared. Real peace doesn't beg to be seen. He closed the book, sat in silence. He didn't sleep that night, not because of business, not because of pressure, because for the first time in a decade, he was wondering if he'd traded his soul for success, and hadn't noticed until now. Next day, the bookstore. He walked in quietly, set the book on the counter. That was brutal. Truth often is, Emmy replied. So that's what you do. Give strangers your journal. Only the ones who wear armor and call it charm. He smiled faintly. You think I'm wearing armor? No, I think you're afraid of taking it off. She walked from behind the counter, stood inches from him. I see you, Malik. Not the Forbes version. Just you. And I don't want anything from you. He swallowed hard. That's what scares me. Why? Because it means I can't buy my way out of this. She reached for his hand just once, held it, briefly, then don't run, just read. That night he stayed up again, this time not reading her words, but writing his own. He wrote her a letter, not to impress her, but to finally hear himself. Malik returned the next morning with no suit jacket, no driver, no assistant in tow, just a folded piece of paper in his hand. She looked up when he walked in. I read your book. Figured I'd write a page back. He handed it over without ceremony. Turned to browse the shelves like it didn't matter. But it did. Her hands trembled as she opened it. You said real peace doesn't beg to be seen. I realized I don't know what peace feels like. Only applause. Only conquest. I grew up fighting for everything. Now I walk into rooms and people fold, but I still feel like I'm 10 years old watching my mom pawn her jewelry to pay rent. You don't look at me like I'm valuable. You look at me like I'm whole. And I think I want that more than I want respect. I don't know how to be soft, Emmy, but I'd like to learn. She folded the note quietly. Didn't speak, didn't cry. But when she looked at him, he saw it. She had read every word, and none of them scared her. Flashback, Emmy, age 17. Her father once told her, strong men will try to break you softly, make you feel grateful just to be noticed. She promised herself she would never bend for wealth. And here he was, not bending her, not flaunting, just unfolding. That night, candlelight in the shop. He stayed late. They drank tea, played vinyl, talked about things that had nothing to do with money, regret, childhood, why he still dreamed in concrete and blueprints, why she never dated men in suits. He asked her, why don't you want anything from me? She looked up, because I like who I am when I'm with you. And if I want something from you, that might change. He nodded slowly. What if I want to give you everything? Then I'll only accept what doesn't come wrapped in guilt. Outside it started to rain again, but they didn't flinch. This time he didn't offer her a ride, and she didn't offer him escape. They just sat in the storm together. He asked her to visit his world, and she saw exactly what he was still hiding. By the end of the week, Malik wasn't just showing up. He was lingering. He offered to help stock books, wipe windows, bring lunch. He'd cleared his schedule, canceled 2 meetings, ignored 3 calls. For the first time in years, he wasn't being productive. He was just being, and that terrified him. Come to the city, he asked gently one afternoon. Why? So I can show you who I am. Not just the version that visits. She looked at him. You mean the man who doesn't flinch in $3,000 shoes? No. I mean the man who still feels like a fraud when he walks into rooms full of applause. She said nothing. But the next day she showed up at his penthouse in canvas shoes and a linen dress. The city Malik's world. His doorman stared. His assistant blinked. The housekeeper whispered, "She looks normal." And that's exactly why he looked at her like she was made of light. Inside the penthouse, she wandered, touched nothing, complimented nothing. Instead, she said, "It's very clean." Is that good? No, it feels unlived in. Oof! Later dinner with associates. He brought her to a quiet rooftop event. His business partners smirked. One leaned in. So this is the woman who got you to vanish for a week. What's she charge? Malik's jaw tightened. Before he could speak, Emmy calmly answered, I charge honesty. Most people can't afford it. The table went silent. He looked at her with something deeper than pride. Gratitude. After the party back at the penthouse. They don't see you, he said. They don't need to, she replied. I didn't come to impress. I came to see if you were still hiding. And you're not. But you're still apologizing for who you used to be. Flashback Malik, at age 24. A CEO once told him, if you want to be taken seriously, stop dating women who don't wear diamonds. So he stopped dating softness. Until now. She stood by the floor-to-ceiling window. Your world is beautiful, she said, but it's not mine. Could it be? Only if we build something new together. He nodded slowly. Then let's start small. And that night, he took off his watch, his ring. His wallet stayed on the counter. He kissed her like time didn't matter. Like power had nothing to do with touch. Like this was the only empire worth building. She never asked for anything, and that's what made him question everything. Days turned into weeks. What started as a retreat became a rhythm. She still ran her bookstore. He still ran his empire. But in the quiet hours between morning coffee and late-night texts, they were building something neither of them had words for. Not quite love, not yet promises, but something real. The first tear in the fabric. It started with a phone call. Malik's assistant panicked. We've got rumors. A leaked photo of you and Emmy. Blogs are calling her a healing phase distraction. Want us to spin it. He hung up, then looked at her. She was sorting books, laughing at something in the margins of a worn-out copy of The Alchemist. She had no idea the internet was writing a script for her. Flashback Malik, age 30. He remembered once dating a woman who went viral beside him. She sold makeup, got brand deals, started speaking in captions. That was the moment he realized love became branding the second someone else got a piece of it. Present that night. They're talking about you, he said quietly. Who? Everyone. Blogs, forums, clients. Then let them. You don't care. I care about you. I care if you care. He didn't answer. Because deep down, he still believed visibility came with a price. And he was terrified she'd be the one to pay it. The argument. You shouldn't have to defend yourself because of me, he said. But I'm not defending myself. I'm standing next to you. There's a difference. It'll only get worse. So what, you'd rather hide me again? The words landed like a slap. She stepped back. You say I make you feel seen. But maybe what you really want is to be loved quietly so no one can take it away from you. He didn't chase her when she walked out. Not because he didn't want to, because for the first time in a long time, Malik Devontae Carter didn't know how to fix something. That night alone in the penthouse, he scrolled through headlines, memes, speculation, and he thought, I could shut this down with one call. But what does it say about me? If I defend her in public, only after pushing her away in private. 6 hours later, a knock at her shop. She opened the door. He stood there. No suit, no driver, no ego. I don't care what the world says, he whispered. But I care what you feel. And I need you to know. I'm not asking you to be invisible. I'm asking you to stand beside me in full light. And for the first time since they met, her eyes filled with tears. Not because she was hurt, because she was seen completely and still wanted. The world wanted a scandal instead. He gave them the truth. 2 days later, Malik walked on to the main stage at the Global Future Summit. He wore no tie, no cufflinks, just a black turtleneck and quiet conviction. It was supposed to be a keynote about innovation. But halfway through, he closed his notes. I was going to talk about concrete steel and smart cities, he said. But I'd rather talk about the things we can't build. Like peace. Like presence. Like real love. The room fell still. Flash to social media. Cameras came up. Streams lit up. His PR team silently screamed from backstage. But he kept going. There's a woman they've been writing about, Emmy. They call her a distraction, a downgrade, a phase. They're wrong. She's the first person in my life who didn't want anything from me. And that's why I want to give her everything. Meanwhile, at the bookstore, Emmy watched the live stream on her phone. Customers paused as his voice echoed softly from the tiny speaker behind the register. I thought money could buy respect. Then I met someone who respected herself too much to be impressed by mine. The video cut to a standing ovation. But Emmy, she didn't move. She just pressed her hand to her chest and finally exhaled. Later that night, his text. If you're willing, I'd like to come home with empty hands and a full heart. She replied, only if you're ready to build something that doesn't need walls. The next day, his penthouse. It was quiet. No chef, no staff, just him waiting. The door opened. She walked in holding 2 things, a plant and a book. What's that? He asked, smiling. A beginning. And a mirror in case you forget how far you've come. He took both, set them down, took her hands. Stay. I never really left. Because sometimes the loudest kind of commitment isn't a ring or a mansion. It's choosing someone in front of the world when you know they never asked to be chosen. She never wanted a throne, so he built her a garden 1 year later. There was no wedding announcement, no Vogue cover, no luxury engagement ring reveal. Just a photo on a quiet blog Emmy sometimes wrote for. A picture of 2 hands planting basil in a clay pot. We don't want to rule the world. We just want to eat dinner at a table that doesn't lie. That's all the caption said. Flashback the first time they met. She didn't smile, didn't bow, didn't praise. She handed him a book and a mirror, and he didn't realize until much later. She wasn't trying to impress him. She was trying to free him. Present a small house on the outskirts of the city. Not a penthouse, not a skyscraper. Just a 2-bedroom home with windows that opened to trees and shelves filled with books. Malik still ran his company, but he stopped buying suits. Stopped branding his love. He watered plants, read poems, learned to say I'm sorry before I'm right. One night on the porch, Emmy sat with her knees pulled to her chest. Do you ever miss that life, she asked. The noise, the throne. He shook his head. You can't miss something that never filled you. So what does... He kissed the top of her head. Quiet mornings. Tea you don't have to earn. and a woman who taught me that being seen without performance is the richest thing I'll ever know. Final scene. A letter found years later, tucked inside the same journal Emmy once gave him. To the man who thought power would save him, you were never too much. You were never too loud. You were just waiting for someone to listen without needing to be amazed. Thank you for letting me see the man behind the empire, and for choosing me, not because I asked, but because I never did. The world moved on. Scandals faded. Companies merged. Skyscrapers rose. But somewhere just outside the noise, a man learned how to love without proof, without performance, and without price. If this story stayed with you, subscribe to Real Father Story, where power meets truth, and love begins where ego ends.